Hi, this is Desh. We run a blog with topics ranging from geopolitics to technology and spirituality. It is hosted on drishtikon.com. And we also run a daily newsletter, which is informative and detailed. In under 10 minutes, you can learn about our world from a perspective that you will not find anywhere else. And it is hosted at drishtikon.news. Today, we wanted to get insights into an area that has become very significant. Yeah, the power of big tech, specifically in the area of social media, and how we can handle its ramifications. So, you can watch a movie called Social Dilemma on Netflix to understand how the tech platforms have infiltrated our lives and impacted us. With the recent events in the US, where the tech giants completely shut down all the accounts of a sitting president, we learned their power. So let's understand what are these big techs, what they are doing, and what are the ramifications, and then what are the alternatives that we have. So we have Hemang Bharve, who's an IIT graduate, and he's a tech entrepreneur. So let's talk to him. Hi, Hemang. How are you?
Yes. Namaste, Deshi.
Namaste. So today I just wanted to go over, like first you can start with your introduction and tell us about what you do and your tech background, and then we can take it further.
Yes. Basically, I came from a like location of central India, and in 2011 I cleared IIT JEE and got my seat on IIT Dhanbad with computer science branch. So I studied there. Simultaneously, I noticed there is so much issue in education system, like they are not maintaining that much level of quality. So I started my own like a startup to revolutionize education system, but because of some financial reason it didn't work out. So I started working as a software developer in a company. Then I switched to another company which is US based right now in clean energy sector. And currently, parallelly, I'm working on some other initiative to make positive social impacts for society and for country also.
Oh, that's awesome. Uh, so I think you're the right person to really, get into this whole topic. Keeping the ideological agendas aside and counter agendas, the banning of Donald Trump and Parler, it showed a very disturbing trend. The trend where the impact of the big tech was seen very clearly. And in India, there was a big movement, out of WhatsApp to Signal, and so there is some kind of disillusionment, with the big tech and their monopoly and their hold on our lives. So how would you see that? Now, what are your views?
See, as we come from India background, where we have been invaded and ruled by an East India company, which was itself as a consultancy company, which was like you outsource us our security for trade and everything. You can outsource us, and you just sit in your rule. You will be a king in your rule, in your kingdom, but we will be taking care of all the finances, security, and everything. So currently, I am seeing all the big tech similar way. Okay, this is just a one parameter where they have just blocked the president of USA, which is like most powerful country in the world. So it is like a similar pattern they are going in. Okay, so I don't see it as a different way. They are going just back where we just came out from last 100 years, 50 years, where we have came out of that situation where power was so centralized. Okay, now we are moving up in the same way, in a similar direction.
So talking of centralization, right? So let's take this idea a little further. So the like I think what you are trying to say is that there is now a centralization of power in terms of data happening, right? Data is now the source of power. So there is centralization of that. So talking of data, so what do you think about its power and the centralization of that data power, and like what are the like versus say decentralization of data?
Data centralization and distribution, I see this thing as a similar concept with capitalism and communism.
Hmm.
Extreme of both are bad
Correct.
and both have flaws. What we need a balance of both of the world.
Hmm.
See, if you go for decentralization, not everyone is capable of storing their own data and keeping secure of their own data, right? Even their Aadhaar card or some basic information, they get stolen every day, or wallet or any other things. So we need somewhere place to secure our data. At the same time, we don't need only one place to secure all of our things.
Hmm.
Okay, so we need a perfect balance of both the world, not just one thing. Extreme of anything is bad.
Right.
Like if you are going to upload, let's say suppose Google is the only company which is going to provide all the storage solutions. Okay, they have all the access of, they are going to control your life. Okay, so that is what we should not be doing. At the same time, we should not be having like you keep your own data, nobody is going to keep it. That is also a flaw, because not everyone can is capable of carrying their own data, and not everyone is smart enough to contain all those data and see all the technical challenges there.
Right.
So we need kind of balance of both the world here.
Right. So, what do you think? Because there are different models, right, in terms of like decentralization of data and like totally distributed kind of data. So, I may not have access to a server, to a secure server, but if everyone's data is in one server, then that becomes easily accessible for that company which owns that application. So, what about if there were actually different applications or application instances with different servers that everyone could use?
Yes. See, the concept you are pointing direction is like there are some technologies which are already working on this thing. Just like cryptocurrencies is a one example, blockchain technology.
Yeah.
They kind of work on a decentralized way.
And so, can you explain the cryptocurrency concept for the viewers?
Yes, that is what I'm going to explain. See, blockchain works is like just like a there is one entity, and to store that information, you need some other person to hold that information. Okay, and if you are a second, let's say it is a node. Okay, this is a starting node, and there is some information stored in this node.
Right.
A person has information which is stored in this node, and to add on extra data, you need second node.
Right.
But to have a sequence where was the first data and where was the second data, so there is one chain that keeps the connection.
Right.
So one node is connected to a second node, and first node doesn't know the second node, but node knows the first node. And similar to way, just like a chain, it go adds on,
Right.
and individual person can keep their a separate copy of that data also. And as the data is encrypted, no one can read that data unless he is having that particular access to that data, that security key. So that is basically the blockchain technology.
Okay.
So it is having a very good use, and there are Bitcoin is actually having a huge boom in that thing. But there is one downfall in this thing. It needs a huge amount of computational power
Hmm.
to work this thing, because it is heavily encrypted, because data has to be distributed in so many places, so it has to work on that encryption also. So to work on that encryption, it needs a huge amount of computation power. So if you are going to calculate like just a prediction how much energy we need, even let's suppose all the like 7 billion people are using this thing, blockchain technology with Bitcoin, we don't have enough sufficient computation power right now to work that system, to work on that system. Even currently, all the people who are using Bitcoin technology, even that calculation is taking a longer time for computation. There are so many data centers built specifically for that computation, still they are not getting up.
Hmm.
So it has a downfall there, computation power. There are some alternative solutions to even this blockchain also, but what happens is like reduces the speed of something. Just like if you have heard of our Tor browsers, they are very decentralized. Like no one can trace your IP.
Right.
If you have heard about dark web, Tor browser is one of it. Okay, it gives the access of dark web also, so no one can trace your IP. But at the same time, it downgrades your internet speed, because it has to hop so many other networks to get your data. So there are some downfalls for this decentralized technology.
Okay. So, is there a so you talked about the blockchain and the cryptography, right? That entire technology. Yeah, cryptocurrency. So, do you think uh, there are alternatives for social media, social networks based on blockchain, and can it be built?
Yes, it is a really wonderful concept, and I would like to work on this in future. See, but there is again the downfall that I said. It needs a huge amount of computation power to work on. Plus, all the people who are using that social media, they have to actively involve in that. Just like Bitcoin currency is working on it, all the people who are using that Bitcoin infrastructure, they are contributing some amount of processing power of their computation to the network. It is like a collective network, collective mind. You can say it like that. So everyone has to give their thoughts, some segment of their mind to work on that, to calculate that process.
Right.
So if that is working, if people are coming for that kind of network, yes, it can be built.
Hmm.
And there is one more extra other concept that I have in mind is like we can create a social network where everyone will be owning their own data.
Okay. How will that work?
Let me explain it. Just like you are having this browser, the browser you are using, all the your data will be stored in it will be having a local database. Let's suppose in your device, it will be storing all of your data and no one can access. It will be encrypted in your database. Even someone gets the hard disk or your memory chip, they can't read it. Okay, all the data is encrypted in rest also.
Hmm.
And my data is stored in my devices.
Okay.
But as you are in my network, I am having your mobile number, which is registered in that network.
Right.
The network will be only having the identity, one key to identify a person, just like a signal is doing. It only uses your mobile number to identify, like this is you, so that the message can be delivered to you with all the security features. So what we can do is like in my system, I am having my own database. In your system, you will be having all of your data in your local system, and in my contact list I am having your number, and I can identify like you are the registered person in this network.
Right.
And now I can easily like checklist this data should be shared to this person only and no one else.
Hmm.
And so whenever you are going to visit my profile in your device, so it is not going to get access to the server of social network. It is going to ask that data from my system.
Oh,
Are you
okay.
getting the point?
Right. 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 Right.
So it will be asking from my system, and it will only give data because I have set the limitations of the permission of all the data. So it will only able to read the data which I have permitted him it to, not any other data.
Right.
And centralized service is only going to be used for like identifying me and identifying you,
Right.
and nothing more than that.
Correct.
So this is one idea I have got into, and I want to work on it,
Right.
as I'm collecting few like-minded people for this. If I get so many, I will start working on it.
So this seems the way you are saying that everyone owns their own data and there is some kind of encryption going on. This is very similar to what Tim Lee is also saying, the guy who invented the internet. He's talking about solid pods. And so he's saying the internet now will change because the data will not be owned by the companies but will be owned by you, like in a local fashion, and you decide whom you allow to access that data and how.
Yes.
So does that sound similar, or do you think it's a different concept?
See, it is kind of similar to cloud technology, cloud platforms like Google. They are providing you server, they are providing you hard disk. You can encrypt all your data and put it there.
Right.
Okay. If you are keeping your security encryption key with you, they are not going to able to decrypt their data. Okay. So concept is same. Any person with a sufficient amount of money, they can again like they can capitalize that idea also. Like we are collecting all the pods. You just use it as our service.
Hmm.
Just like you cloud platform they are building. So many people are building cloud platform. That can also be done.
Hmm.
So what we need is like we need kind of, I forgot one point which I wanted to mention is social media. The database I was talking about. See, you can choose where that database you want to host, like in your laptop, in your mobile, or in any other a bigger computer also.
Okay.
If you have any bigger system, you can host that data also there. So all the data will be like it will be a kind of a distributed computer,
Hmm.
but all the data you own will be there as a separate database,
Right.
and it will be working collectively in distributed system. It will be working as a collaboration. It knows where my separate copy is. Like my laptop will be having the same copy as my mobile and as my computer also, desktop also.
Okay.
But as according to the usability of my data, my mobile will be storing lesser amount of data, my laptop will be storing a little more amount of data, and if I am having a separate computer, okay, separate bigger server, it will be owning the whole means like all amount of data.
Right.
Okay, but mobile device will be keeping all the necessary data that I need to do. Okay, so it will be that database itself will be syncing itself.
Hmm.
Okay, but not with any other organization. and all the data will be itself encrypted so that no one can read. Okay, so now here I am having a flexibility to own a pod or not even own a pod.
That's very interesting.
Yes, so that is one extra stuff that I am thinking into. You don't have to own a pod or own a server as a separate cloud entity.
Right.
If you are having a separate local device, it will store all of your data in that device only.
Right.
Yes.
So let's go back and like look at how all this is going to impact humanity itself, right? Because like ultimately, what is happening is all these big techs are actually like trying to impact the world in some way, right? Whether you agree with their narrative or you don't agree with their narrative, they have an ideological bent of mind. So how much of that ability that they have to accentuate a narrative or to bury a narrative based on their own ideological frameworks? How much do you think is all this is due to the ability for them to gather and manipulate the data that they get, and how can distributed networks that you are talking about, how can that help us move away from this ideological issues that we have?
Yes. See, first I'm going to give some reference from our Bollywood, Hollywood movies, and then I will be talking about the solutions. First thing is, I think if you have seen the Ultron movie, Avenger Ultron movie, so there the talk is like when the time when Ultron gets into awareness, he just steals all the data of Avengers and all the internet and everything, and Avengers, and he deletes all the data, their data, and he keeps a separate copy of all those data. And one Avenger says like Alton knows more about us than we know about each other.
Hmm.
So for that reference, if big tech companies we are using all the products of big tech companies, either it be Apple or Facebook or Google, they actually know more about us than we know about each other.
Hmm.
Okay, so they can manipulate in such a way that we don't even know that they are manipulating us. Just like Britishers did to us, they looted our country, but they gave us a narrative like they have given us a rail gadi.
Hmm.
Okay, but they took 45 something trillion dollars of money that time. That's a huge amount of money. We could have laid down a railway infrastructure of gold
Right.
in a way.
That's true, actually.
That much amount of money they have looted, and what they are saying to us like we have given you a train. That is a idiotic thing. The way they have manipulated, we have already experienced this thing in our history. So this is not a different thing for us, and they can do anything. They can do anything with whatever data they already have got from us. And the only solution we have right now
Hmm.
to to fund and build our own alternative of everything.
Hmm.
As you are saying, we have to own our data in this century. What I am adding on to it, rather than just owning our own data, we have to own our infrastructure also, not just data.
Right.
Okay, we don't know what kind of chip they are going to inbuild in our system,
Correct. Hmm.
right? If I am buying an Apple which is fully manufactured by Apple company, we don't know what exactly the chip they are building it right now.
Right.
Maybe it is disabled for now, it will be going to enable in some emergency situation, like again similar to that, I saw one movie which was again a Bollywood movie where China invaded USA in a similar manner, like all the chip manufacturers were done by China. So the concept of that movie was like they have some very minute changes done on that chip, and they can China can trigger that change,
Hmm.
and whole infrastructure of USA got shut down in day one, and whole China army went to America to invade America.
That's very interesting.
Similar to that concept, they can add even a Boolean chip can destabilize whole structure infrastructure.
Hmm.
It is the small diode, a Boolean structure. They can just turn it off. A 0 to 1, it is off. A 1 bit can destabilize whole network. So, and that is very small entity. And you can't identify that thing in a billions of a transistor which consists of billion of transistors, a chip.
Right.
Okay. And you can't toggle one thing. You can't trace that thing, 1 bit in billion of transistors. Okay. So rather than just owning the data, the perfect solution is it should be either it should be open source or we should be owning our own infrastructure also, rather than just owning our own data. So these are the two solutions currently I am finding right now for this problem.
Right. So, do you think India has, like specifically India and other countries as well, apart from say China or US, have actually missed the bus in creating their own technical infrastructure in terms of clouds and things? Because like US obviously has, and we all know that Google and Amazon and Microsoft are actually subject to US laws. Like whatever is happening on these clouds that they own are actually subject to US laws, and so therefore the US government or US establishment can dictate what happens to that data which is on that cloud, like something that we all have already seen in Donald Trump's case. Now, China owns Alibaba Cloud, and we all know what happened to Jack Ma and how much influence CCP has on all these tech companies there in China. So, do you think that India actually missed the bus in not creating their own cloud, and similar for Brazil and like other countries?
No, I don't think we have missed the bus. We still have an opportunity to build up all those things. We just need a like-minded people for that. Okay, we have all the talent we need. We have all the money we need. We just need people who can work on that thing as a collective, not as an individual, as a collective. And one more thing that I wanted to mention here is like, yes, China owns all of their data, USA owns all of their data, and even we have already have so many infrastructure right now. They are so small that we are not able to notice those people, but there are people who are working, they are building our own data centers here.
Okay.
See, here what we need is like, we need people with deep pocket.
Hmm.
Frankly speaking, we need people with deep pocket who can invest in this infrastructure,
Correct.
especially in R&D department also, not just in infrastructure. We have to create our own next generation technology.
Right.
At the same time, we have to build our own infrastructure for supercomputers, for cloud infrastructure and everything. And one more thing here, I want to add is like, USA have their own infrastructure, China has their own infrastructure. We as not just an Indian, we as a Hindu should also have our own infrastructure. Why I'm saying it? Because as a Hindu, we got invaded from Islamic nations from last 1000 years. We are getting continuously invaded, and we are being targeted for being a Hindu.
Hmm.
Okay, one thing. And second thing, not just Islamic nations, whole European nations and this church, and they have also invaded us. They have tried everything to destroy us.
Right.
Okay, so not just in India,
Hmm.
because just 70 years we got divided on the basis of religion, Islamic nation and non-Islamic nation. Okay, but still Islamic people didn't left, so that is a different topic. But yes, we need, as not just in India, but as a Hindu also, as a Sanatani dharmic people also, we need our own infrastructure, alternative of everything.
Hmm.
Even a single small chip we have to own for securing our future generation. Because if we don't, similar to East India Company, we are going to be ruled by in the future generation. Not directly, but indirectly they can rule us, indirectly they can manipulate us, and indirectly they can do anything to us.
Right. So that I think is a fear that has come because of the whole ideological frameworks, like in the way that they have been used by all these companies. And they have not been very fair or dispassionate keepers of data. They have actually used it against people and ideologies or even narratives that they did not like including the way you are saying about the dharmic ways, and they have used that. In that we have seen how bigoted the narrative has been of different newspapers and different media, and what happens on Twitter to people who profess a certain thing, and they don't like it. So that's how it works. So there is this, like, I think what I'm sensing from what you are saying is that there is a fear of a neo-colonialism, right? That a new form of colonialism, colonial rule, is being perpetuated by these big techs, right? And like I think it is a fear that not only we have in India or like within the dharmic sphere, but also outside. I think almost every other nation is fearing that now, that there is a way that these big techs are going to perpetuate a colonial rule, which is new form of imperialism on the world, and nobody can like is being able to do anything about that. So how can we, one, how can we circumvent this, and second, how important and deep will be not just the data but even the AI, the artificial intelligence, and what it is that going to do with data.
Yes, that is the basic question for any IT professional right now. If IT is coming, what we are going to do with it? And if it is going to learn, just like a Alton example I gave it to you. See, in my opinion, AI is just like a child.
Hmm.
For me, AI is just like a child. Whatever you are going to teach it, it is going to do the same thing.
Hmm.
So whatever we are going to teach is actually a data. Whatever data you are providing to that AI to learn it, it is going to learn that thing. So whenever we are going to build that AI, we have to make sure whatever we are teaching is important, is ethical, is dharmic way, not an adharmic way.
Hmm.
Otherwise, it is going to do the same thing.
Right.
Okay, just again, I'm going to the same Ultron movie where because Iron Man didn't know the difference between saving a life and killing a person. Okay, Ultron didn't know because he learned all the data from that database server only, his database, because he was building so many weapons to protect people, but that weapon itself was killing people. So Ultron was also got confused. Like, I have to kill people to save people, or let them die to save people. That was the confusion. That was his confusion. So similar to if you are going to build an AI, yes, we have to make sure whatever we are going to teach, we have to teach that AI like a child. Like, this is what should be done, and this is what it should not be done.
Right. But I think the real challenge is that there is a very small, see, like earlier after the World War II, when the new world order was set, right? At that time, UN was made in charge. So there were certain rules, there were certain committees, there were, different countries which came together and formed the different rules. There were a lot of diplomats working through all this. And there was an oversight which changed hands with the different governments and different like establishment that came in those countries, and all the countries in the world were involved with that. But now what is happening is that the people who are entrusted or who have the power to create those rules are not everyone. There are very, very few people, employees of those companies, those big tech companies, and also the committees that they decide to set up. The oversight committee of Facebook, for example, has been very controversial because it has very deeply ideological, almost fanatic people in that committee, and people are worried about that. So like you're saying, so AI is like a child. Whatever you teach that AI, that's what it will do. So the thing is, if that is a child and the person who's teaching that child is a fanatic and say ideologically bigoted person, then what we get is bigotry being multiplied and used to create a new colonial system, right? So how do we handle that part?
See, if you are going to see it, actually, I'm just formulating this word. If you see whole history, there has always been so many good kings and bad kings, good peoples and bad people. So whatever we are going to do, whatever, everything is just like a knife. I was reading one Sanskrit Shastra in our ancient scripture where they were like, knowledge is just like a knife.
Hmm.
It is you who is going to decide how you are going to use it.
Right.
You can either kill up people with that knife, or you can give life by giving fruits or any other using that knife. Okay, so knowledge is just a knife. It is neither good nor bad.
Right.
How you are using it, it defines you. That is your karma.
Right.
Okay, so there is, for sure, there are going to be people who are going to utilize that thing as a bad thing.
Hmm.
Okay, AI is just a building an AI is just a building a brain. The main thing comes is like what you are going to teach it.
Right.
So even if you are going to build an AI and you are going to teach everything good thing, and again it comes with company of some bad people, it is going to learn the bad thing also.
Right.
So it's going to do the bad thing also.
Right.
we have to make sure, apart from bad people, they are going to do what they are doing from last whole generations, whole human history. They are going to rule over people, they are going to kill people, they are going to make people suffer, they are going to do that. But as a good people, we have to build our own system to make sure they don't do it. that is what that is what the part of military does, that is a part of what police people does, that is a part of why we keep constitution,
Right.
so that bad peoples don't overtake the good people.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay, so this war is always going to be there.
Right.
So rather than just not evolve, we have to make sure we have all the technologies to keep the good thing alive,
Hmm.
rather than bad people taking the power. And one more thing that you were mentioning is like after the world war.
Hmm.
See, after the world war, what people learn is like there is so much. Before this all the machinery weapons got created, people were like they were very easily to fight and take over things, because the cost of war was like human life only,
Right.
and few weaponaries. Weaponaries was also not that costly to build things. Okay, but after the technology got evolved and we got bombs and nuclear bomb also. So the profit of war and the loss of war got a huge difference.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay, so it is not like people don't want war. The people who are in leadership, those people who have fought the world war, they still want war and they still want to conquer other people. But the difference is because the loss of war has got huge
Right.
and the profit of war has gone low, these people are not directly fighting. They are not directly fighting. They are fighting in an indirect way.
Hmm. Hmm.
They are creating this whole ecosystem of businesses where they are taking all the they are taking all the supply chain of you out of you.
Hmm.
They are throwing you out of business.
Hmm.
Okay, so they are controlling you basically, just like America did to all the oil producing nations. You know about that history.
Right. Right.
What America did to African nations.
Right.
They pull out all the resources. Now they are just dumping them.
And now China is doing the same with Africa.
Now the China is doing the same to Africa, and now big tech companies is doing to us from India. They are taking slowly by slowly. They are taking over all the supply chains, not just in India and all around the world.
Hmm.
Okay, they are taking all the supply chains. Even I heard this news from few cases from Amazon. What Amazon does is like whoever is going to post their new creative ideas to their selling platform, Amazon.com, they just observe that product for a while. If that product is getting traction, what they are going to create, they are going to create a copy of that product and they are going to sell that product in a lesser cost
Ah.
in competition of that creative product. So the person who got that creative idea, he was not that big deep pocket person with that deep pocket, and he can't fight with that, because to manufacture that thing and to produce and sell that thing, he has to bear that cost, and to we have to make that profit also. But because Amazon has a deep pocket, they can run in loss for a year
Right.
or few years also. The same way Kindle is working. The cost of running Kindle infrastructure is very high. But how is that possible that he is selling book in a lower amount of cost?
Right.
Because he want to throw all the market out of balance. So when he gets a monopoly, he will going to dictate his price.
Right.
These this is when I said capitalism and socialism, extreme of both are bad. This is a form of extreme capitalism.
Hmm. Hmm.
If you are going to keep whole power to that particular person, he is going to exploit it.
Hmm. Hmm. That's true.
So what we have to do, similar to that, we have one more example of Microsoft. The company got so big that American government has to interfere in it and has to break that company in so many chunks, so that it does not create. He does not own one. It's like one company does not own everything. It has to break it.
Hmm.
Okay, so we have to keep that balance. Any company is going out of control, it should be broken into pieces
Hmm. Hmm.
or sufficient amount of number of companies, so that they can run in healthy competition, so that new ideas can also come and one person should not be ruling everything.
Right. But that is the challenge, right? Because all these companies, that's what they have been trying to do. They have been trying to create a colonial model out of the big tech. And so it has been so tough even for the governments to actually dictate terms to, say, Facebook or Twitter or, say, Microsoft or even Google, right? Because they have not been able to be successful because there is a certain backing of some establishment components, like, if you will, right? So that is always there, and so the challenge now for most of the governments, including governments like in India, is that how do you maintain, because it is not as if Google or Twitter or Facebook or WhatsApp are not useful for people. They are. A lot of businesses have started on WhatsApp and all these things, even Google. So how do you keep the balance between the business opportunities that these big techs bring, which are very good for the humanity and for people around, but also manage to take care of people who are being led, because it is almost like colonialism. Like East India Company came to India, it was doing all the business, and suddenly it thought it had so much of power now that it could actually rule the country, and that's what happened. And so this is a repeat model of the East India Company thing, where the companies comes and does business and suddenly becomes so big that it can actually become the government itself. So so between the business opportunities that it brings to the people versus the security threat that they are, national security threat that they are, how does a government actually manage? Like, one of the things that people have been talking about is that, like, whatever alternative comes, if it is not backed by the government itself. Now, for example, the UPI, framework that we have for Aadhaar card, and which is an alternative to Visa and Mastercard. So UPI brings its own payment rails. Now, payment rails is what actually makes all the digital payments work, including all the credit cards, PayPal. All these are payment rails. In India, a new payment rails system had been created by UPI, and that has, like, totally brought down the share of Visa and Mastercard. So they are worried, and but unless and until this UPI was backed by the government, such a payment rail system that could totally turn the entire payment world on its head would have not been possible. So, do we need another, effort by the government backed effort, where, like, something like a social network is also created, something that happens in China, although through a company.
See, in that way, like, if we want that, we have to act like China did. Just block Google, block Facebook, and block other websites, and just let people free to build our own.
Hmm.
And whichever wins, it is going to be there. Okay, that is what we can do. But because we are not a communist country, we are a democratic country, and there are so many rules and regulations which prohibits us for doing that. So what we need to do is like, just like, if you have heard about this social corporate responsibility, where companies are with such amount of turnover, companies are obliged to do some social work.
Hmm.
So what we can do is like, we can make some rule. First thing is like, any big tech company, they are going to, if you have to work in our country, you have to make a rule to give out this amount of fund to new creators, and you will not be owning any share in that fund or in that tech startup. See, because they are, let's say they are earning 100 crores rupees of from us. Okay, make sure they give 20 crores to return to this country.
But they still will be owning the data. My thought was that.
No, 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 they will not be owning anything.
Hmm.
They are going to give this 20 crore to new fresh entrepreneurs. That is what I mentioned here. They are not going to own anything. Just like a social corporate responsibility, they are going to give that money to us, back to our people.
But what I was thinking was more in terms of a fundamental change in the infrastructure itself, in the sense that UPI did. UPI using Aadhaar.
I'm coming to that point. Okay, this is one example of what we can do as a nation. Second thing, just like what European countries did as a European Union, they have made a very strict law regarding data.
Hmm.
Okay, and any company, no matter how big or small, if you are going to violate that rule, you are going to be sued for millions of billions of dollar. Okay, just like Facebook got sued, even Google got sued, and other companies also got sued for the same reason. Okay, that strict data policy that we can create, like no data of our country should be stored outside of our country, either it be Google Map or Google Docs or any other thing. If a person is from India, all the data should be stored in India only.
Hmm. Hmm.
If it goes out of India, you are going to be sued.
Right.
This is a clear cut thing that we can do. Third thing, as you were saying, just like UPI, we have to invite our entrepreneurs, our tech developers, start building, they have to fund us basically. Start building our own cloud infrastructure and everything. We are going to back you up.
Hmm.
We are going to subsidize you. We are going to provide fund you. We are going to promote you. You just have to give a world class product. That is the condition that the government can give.
Right.
Okay. So these three solutions currently I am having in mind.
Right. Because the place where I was going is that, just like that, the underlying, infrastructure using, Aadhaar card and UPI was created. Something like that underlying structure can be created, which becomes the basis to for the other entrepreneurs to build applications on top of that. Just like now, Google Pay and everybody else, are building their own applications on top of the UPI framework. But the underlying payment rails are owned by the government of India, not by Google or anybody else. But they use that now. Like similarly, the data and the underlying infrastructure can be owned by the government of India, but the applications can be built by different companies to facilitate life.
Yes, that can also be done. But still, that is the concept of kind of open API.
Okay.
Like government is controlling the API, but that API is open for anyone to consume data or take out the data. Okay, or use that data in any way possible. UPI is kind of that example. But still, if you are going to hit that API, any other company can bypass that data also. It is going to make a request to your API, but it is going to also create a copy of that data and send it to that server also.
Hmm.
Okay, so it is not like we can. That is a very good idea, but still, so many features that does not work on one single centralized way. We have to distribute it also, and we have to make sure that people who are using it is like we can create ISO certification of our country, similar to ISO certification. Like any tech company who is going to work on this, they should be following these guidelines, like for data, for security, for encryption, or anything.
Right.
Even the chip they are making, they have to follow certain guideline, and if there is something found outside of that, they are going to sue you.
Right.
You have to be very strict because we have suffered 1,000 year of invasion and looting and everything. We have to be very strict in this digital world.
Right.
You see a similar thing that you were saying, like for narrative,
Hmm.
we are studying all the we are not owning our own education system. Whatever we are being taught from our childhood, they are just a left narrative,
Right.
which is all based on false history.
Right.
We are creating generations of our people who doesn't know their own real history.
Right. That's true.
Okay, so that is basically a data. That is also basically data. What we are feeding our own generation, our own brothers and sisters, are wrong data. So they are behaving like that people. So because they are saying wrong to the right people and right to the wrong people,
Hmm.
because they are just a child. Their brain is just a child. They are learning what they have been taught.
Correct.
Okay, so similar to I said, like we have to own our infrastructure. We have not just data. Okay, so similar to that, we have to own our educational institutions, education platform, and everything.
Right.
If we have to survive our next thing, this is a permanent. This is the only permanent solution I am seeing right now.
Right.
Rather than making someone else oblige to our rules, we have to start building our own things.
Right.
Simple.
So I think, in our discussion that we have had, like I think we have kind of touched like different aspects of this, right? We have said that there is a threat there is a perception of a threat, and then there is a real threat as well, because there are ramifications of holding data and impact of data. Then we have looked at like what are the different options that we have in terms of like different frameworks, decentralization of data, the pods, and then who has the encryption power, and where the encryption is done, and who gives access to that data to different applications and all those things. And then we also looked at how nations can handle this. So there are different like models for that. One is the legal model. The other one is that nation can own the application, can own the infrastructure, and then also have a say in the startups and back the startups to create that kind of model for the country to go ahead with. So we can, so I think our discussion has been very interesting and very, informative. And I just wanted to understand now that you have created something called Code for Dharma. So I wanted to understand from you what you are doing in Code for Dharma, and what are your objectives, and if you have any formalization in terms of organization and work that you're doing. And also, then we can go in and see, then you can share like what is it that you would need from people, and what kind of skills do you need to join you in that endeavor.
From last 10 years around, let's go back to 2011 around. Okay, so where we were seeing in India, there were so many protests were going around for from Anna Hazare for corruption against India against corruption. And there was one Nirbhaya rape case also. And plus there was some this was some social cause that we were hitting continuously. And then there was some quest of for me inside for like spiritual knowledge. I want that knowledge, I want some answers which I am not finding in our current books, science books and all school books. So I started learning from internet, and whatever I was getting, I was not like this is not the right answer, it should be something different. So I started going offline
Hmm.
for Vedas and Upanishads and all those things. But then I found is like the answer is something very different, and what we are reading in internet is very it is like some agenda. I didn't knew there was like some leftist or invasion kind of that thing was happening. But in 2 3 years, I got that understanding of this those things. Even when I went to IIT Dhanbad, and even those professors, a few professors, they were having very specific that agenda kind of things. They want students to learn that particular ideology in a particular way. If you are going to question anything out of that box, they are going to just either sue you or like fail you, or they will just throw you out of class. This has happened to me actually.
Okay.
I asked 2 3 questions out of that box, and they just like, if you are going to ask this question, I will throw you out from my class. This has happened to me.
Right.
Okay, so because of that concept, I got this idea like we have to own our education system. This is not our education system.
Hmm.
Okay, they are just declining everything which is historic to us. Like that is not our history.
Right.
And they are specifically teaching IITians like this country is not worth for you to stay here. Just go to foreign country and do a good job and live there. Means like they want knowledgeable people to leave this country. Few professors I found it there, and this is what is happening in IIT.
Wow.
Okay, and I was like, I am the live example of that.
Hmm. Hmm.
I am basically not a graduate from IIT Dhanbad. I am a dropout from IIT Dhanbad
Oh, okay.
because of this reason. Because whatever you are teaching is not the right thing,
Right.
and I will be more. It's like not an ego thing, but as a self pride. I will be more honored to have my title name as a dropout rather than being a graduate from these institutions.
Very interesting.
This is kind of not arrogance, but as a self respect.
Right.
I thought this thing. Okay. And so similar to this, I started the education institution thing, but it didn't work out. So again, currently what I am doing is like, as you saw, there's so many left narrative, which is directly, indirectly attacking Hinduism as a Sanatan Dharma, which is native to this land, which is older to any culture in the world.
Right.
And after surviving 2000 years of invasion, it is still thriving. but these people want to loot it and destroy it from its root.
Right.
And whenever you are going to search on internet, it is not having a good presence in internet,
Right.
as a dharma is not very well present in internet. So many people who are having the agenda to destroy it, they are only writing all the content there.
Right.
So code for dharma is like to build an team of tech people, and but not just tech people, because there are people who are going to write contents and all, but basically tech people to build an infrastructure to represent dharma in a right way on the digital world. This is a, but we are inviting all the techie people and non-techie people who want to work on it.
Okay.
Okay, rather than just keep discussing on problems, our narrative is like we have to work on solutions.
Right.
Come up with a solution, we will work on it.
So, do you have a website, or do you have any presence where people can connect with you?
Yes, currently we are our website is on the building process, but we have built our one. We have already planned this application for Temple Encyclopedia.
Okay.
Here we are going to this platform is going to cover all of our temples around the globe, and this is going to be a kind of Facebook for temples. You can say it like that.
Okay.
So all the information of each and every temple, no matter how small or no matter how big, is going to be there,
Okay.
and all the people connected to that temple will be present there
Okay.
as a pandit, pujari, or manager, or as a devotee. They will be present there.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it will be a separate entity for, you can say it like a social media, but that is what we are like. We are building a temple social media, not for everyone. People who are devoted for that thing, they are going to be there.
Okay.
Okay, and they want to work there. Okay, so as just one example, I want to give it here is that the issue of Sabrimala temple came a few years back, and people started attacking our Hinduism for that.
Hmm.
There are around five temples which are prohibiting men to enter, but there are only around two, three temples which prohibits women to enter.
Right.
But they are making narrative in such a way like Hinduism, they restrict women for their periods or other reason. Because, but that is not the reason in Sabrimala.
Right.
They are presenting our temples, our culture in a very wrong way.
Hmm.
And people, our own people, they were not able to stand for that cause because they don't know about that temple.
Right.
Every temple has a different culture in our country,
Right.
different tradition. That is what concept of decentralization of power, decentralization of culture comes.
Right.
Knowledge is same, but their representation, their execution is different in every way, every place. And because our Sanatan culture is so vast, we are not able to cope up with everything. If you learn of culture of Kashmir, it is going to be very different from north south, sorry, south and east west.
Right.
Okay, so this platform is what is it is going to do, it is going to present all the right information in one way. So whichever temple is going to be in a danger or anything, people can learn about that particular culture and they can take a stand for that culture,
Right.
because that is our civilization heritage from last 5,000 10,000 years, and we have to protect it.
Right.
We don't want to be like an Egyptian or Mayan civilization
Right.
where future generation is going to just decrypt our things what they want to mean.
Right.
We want to be a living culture.
Correct.
Okay, so this is one part, one project that we are doing, and there are two projects that in a pipeline. One is a Sanskrit digitization. See, wherever you are going to search in internet, you will be finding very few Sanskrit original content.
Hmm.
Most of is going to be a interpretation of some Totaka or some translation from some sadhus or English translation or everything, not the original content.
Hmm.
Okay, our Sanskrit library has a huge collection of knowledge, but they are not presenting the original content. Why?
Right.
We want to learn the original things. What is actually they are going to say it like gravitational law is mentioned in Vedas, where it is mentioned. Present the right sloka.
Right.
Give that sloka there only,
Hmm.
rather than just referencing it. Present the original sloka. Na? Why you are not doing this? So we are taking this responsibility of digitizing all the Sanskrit manuscripts and translating into all the world languages
Okay.
in a right way, not with any agenda, with a right way, so that people around the world can learn what is written in our scriptures.
Right. That's a huge task.
Yes, obviously it is a huge task, and we need support from as many people as we can.
Right.
Okay, so this is our second project. Third project is what we are doing is like as you know, we are being taught the wrong history.
Hmm.
And whatever history we are reading is actually an interpretation of what second, third source, not the original source. People who have interpreted from that source, and second person who has interpreted from that source,
Right.
and third
That's true.
person who has interpreted from that second source.
Right.
We are reading that third, fourth source.
Yeah, the way I say is that we know Akbar from what Romila Thapar says, not from Akbarnama.
Yes. Same with Tipu Sultan. We don't know Tipu Sultan as a Tipu Sultan. We know Tipu Sultan as this leftist has presented.
Right.
Okay. So what we are creating this platform for historians, where we are going to put all the original facts and figures in one place.
Correct.
And whoever who is going to write articles, contents, or on that particular original source should be validated from the original source.
Right.
You can't make Tipu Sultan secular, although all the documents contradict that.
Right.
Right? If you are going to write it, we are just going to cancel it. Why? That is an agenda. Where is the proof?
Right. Yeah, everything should be based on original proof, like if that is what you're trying to talk about. So I think,
Yes. So this platform is focused on presenting all history, not just one two document. Everything from last 5,000 years, 10,000 years. That itself is a huge task, and we are going to build that.
right.
Okay, and there are few more projects we are in a pipeline. We are doing it for Gurukuls, related to Gurukuls or protection of Gaushalas and all. Okay, because that are our wealth. Godhan, we have considered Go as a wealth, Godhan.
Right.
Okay, so we are going to work on that also, Gaushala and Gurukuls also for education institutions also, and there are some other things. And we are also planning to build our own cloud infrastructure in a future. Like if we get people from like they want to invest in us,
Right.
we are founded. This Code for Dharma team is founded by an IITians. We are having three people. We are also from the same college, IIT Dhanbad only. They both are my seniors.
Okay.
So we want, if people are ready to trust on us, we are going to deliver world class product to them. This is our promise to them.
All the best. All the best, Imank. And like, I think it was great talking to you.
Yes, same here, Mitchell.
Like, probably come back again and like discuss on some other topic as well. So thank you so much, and all the best to to you and your team.
Thank you so much for
Thank you.